What if the food on your plate right now is either quietly saving your life or slowly ending it? Not in a dramatic way, not overnight, but silently, meal by meal, bite by bite, your arteries are either getting stronger or getting harder, narrower, and more dangerous. And most people have absolutely no idea it's happening. You walk around feeling fine. You think because you're not in pain, everything must be okay. But cardiovascular disease doesn't send you a warning letter. It doesn't knock on your door and politely introduce itself. It builds in the dark for years, sometimes decades, until one day it makes itself very loudly, very brutally known. Today that changes, because what you're about to learn in the next few minutes could genuinely be the most important thing you do for your heart this year. We are not talking about some complicated diet overhaul. We are not talking about giving up everything you love or living on tasteless food that feels more like punishment than nourishment. We are talking about 5 specific foods backed by real science that go inside your body and do something extraordinary. They don't just avoid causing harm. They actively repair, protect, and strengthen the system that keeps you alive every single second of every single day. Your heart beats around 100,000 times a day. Your arteries carry blood across nearly 60,000 miles of vessels inside your body. That's more than twice the circumference of the Earth, and most of us treat this incredible system like it's completely optional. Let's start with something you probably have in your kitchen right now and have never once thought of as medicine. Oatmeal, specifically whole grain oats, and when you pair them with berries, you have one of the most cardiovascular protective combinations that exists in the natural world. Here's what's actually happening when you eat oats. They contain a specific type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan, and this fiber does something that most people find genuinely surprising when they first hear it. It physically traps cholesterol in your digestive system before it can enter your bloodstream, not metaphorically, literally, like a sponge soaking up the LDL cholesterol that would otherwise be traveling to your arteries and contributing to plaque buildup. Studies have shown that consistent oat consumption can lower LDL cholesterol by 5 to 10%. That may sound modest, but in the world of cardiovascular health, that kind of reduction is significant enough that doctors take notice. Now add berries to that bowl, and you're doing something completely different on top of it. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, all of them are loaded with compounds called anthocyanins. These are the pigments that give berries their deep, rich color, and inside your body they act as powerful anti-inflammatory agents. Inflammation is one of the most underappreciated causes of arterial damage. When your arteries are constantly inflamed, they become stiff, they narrow, blood pressure rises, and the risk of a heart attack or stroke climbs steadily. Berries work directly against that process. One study found that people who ate blueberries regularly had measurably better arterial flexibility compared to those who didn't. Your arteries becoming more flexible, more responsive, more like the elastic, healthy vessels they were designed to be. That's what a bowl of oatmeal and berries is doing for you. And most people are choosing processed cereal instead. Now here's something I want you to hold in your mind as we go through the next few foods, because this is the part that most health content completely skips over. It's not just about what these foods add, it's about the cascade effect. When you improve one part of your cardiovascular system, it starts improving others. Lower inflammation leads to better blood pressure. Better blood pressure reduces strain on the heart. Less strain on the heart means the whole system works more efficiently. These 5 foods work together even if you're eating them at different times throughout the day. Keep that in mind, because by the time we get to number 5, you'll understand something about your biology that most people never figure out. The second food is one that a lot of people overlook completely, and it might be the most underestimated cardiovascular food on this entire list. Lentils. Small, cheap, often ignored, and absolutely remarkable for your heart. Lentils are one of the richest plant-based sources of folate, magnesium, and fiber. 3 things your cardiovascular system is desperately dependent on. Magnesium alone plays a role in over 300 biochemical reactions in the body, and one of its most critical jobs is regulating the muscle contractions of your heart. When magnesium levels are low, which they are in a large percentage of the population without people even knowing, the heart can develop irregular rhythms and elevated blood pressure. Lentils help restore that balance. The fiber in lentils also works similarly to what we discussed with oats, reducing LDL cholesterol and feeding the beneficial gut bacteria that produce compounds which lower systemic inflammation. And here's what makes lentils especially powerful in a cultural and real-world sense. They're accessible, They're affordable. They don't require a specialty grocery store or a large budget. They've been a staple food in some of the world's longest living populations for thousands of years. There is wisdom in that. Populations that have eaten lentils as a dietary cornerstone for generations have consistently lower rates of cardiovascular disease. That's not a coincidence. Food number 3 is avocado. And if you've ever felt guilty about eating it because of the fat content, I want to completely dismantle that guilt right now. The fat in avocado is monounsaturated fat, primarily oleic acid, the same type found in olive oil, which has decades of research showing it actively improves the ratio of good cholesterol to bad cholesterol. But avocado does something beyond just cholesterol. It's one of the richest sources of potassium available, even higher than bananas. And potassium is the mineral that helps your blood vessels relax. When blood vessels are relaxed and flexible, blood pressure comes down. When blood pressure comes down, the constant mechanical stress on the walls of your arteries is reduced. Over time, this is the difference between arteries that age gracefully and arteries that harden, calcify, and narrow. Avocado also contains lutein, beta-sitosterol, and glutathione, compounds that individually have been shown to reduce oxidative stress, which is essentially the rust forming on the inside of your blood vessels. People who regularly eat avocado have been shown in research to have significantly lower body weight, lower waist circumference, and better metabolic health overall. Your arteries don't exist in isolation. Everything about your metabolic health affects them, and avocado touches multiple parts of that system at once. Number 4 is nuts, and this is where the research gets genuinely exciting. Multiple large-scale studies, including the famous pre-dimed study involving thousands of participants across multiple years, have found that people who regularly consume a handful of mixed nuts have dramatically lower rates of heart attacks and cardiovascular death compared to those who don't. Walnuts in particular contain alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid that reduces inflammation and supports the lining of your arteries, the endothelium, which is actually the most important surface in your cardiovascular system. When the endothelium is healthy, it releases a compound called nitric oxide, which causes blood vessels to dilate and allows blood to flow freely. When it's damaged, that process breaks down, and the risk of clot formation, plaque buildup, and arterial disease increases rapidly. Walnuts, almonds, and pistachios all support endothelial health through different mechanisms. A small handful a day is genuinely one of the easiest and most powerful things you can do. And now we reach number 5, the one that most people have never considered at all, and this is the one that connects everything together in a way that will genuinely change how you think about what you eat. Barley, not barley and beer, whole grain barley, the ancient grain that once fed civilizations and has somehow been almost entirely forgotten in the modern diet. Barley contains the highest concentration of beta-glucan of any grain, even higher than oats, and it also contains a unique compound called tocols, which are members of the vitamin E family with specific antioxidant effects on the arterial walls. But here's the truly remarkable thing about barley. When fermented by your gut bacteria, barley produces something called propionate, a short-chain fatty acid that travels through your bloodstream and actively signals your liver to produce less cholesterol. Your liver is responsible for producing about 80% of the cholesterol in your body. Barley communicates with it directly, telling it to dial down cholesterol production at the source. That is not just food, that is a pharmaceutical-level mechanism happening because of a grain most people haven't eaten since their great-grandparents were alive. These 5 foods, oatmeal and berries, lentils, avocado, nuts, and barley, are not a gimmick. They are not a trend. They are a return to something that human biology has always known and that modern eating patterns have moved us away from almost entirely. Your arteries respond to what you feed them. They are not fixed. They are not destined to fail. The research on cardiovascular plasticity is clear. Dietary changes can reverse early arterial damage, reduce inflammation, lower cholesterol, and improve blood pressure, often within weeks. The question is never whether the science is there. The science is there. The question is always whether you'll do something with it. So I want to ask you directly, and I want you to actually think about this and leave your answer below, because I read every single comment. Of these 5 foods, oatmeal and berries, lentils, avocado, nuts, and barley, which one are you already eating regularly, and which one have you been avoiding, and why? Your answer might reveal something about your habits that you haven't noticed yet. Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it.